Fields of Mistria is a brand new, cozy farm sim RPG that takes place in a magical world. You're brand new in town and you're tasked with revitalizing the town after an earthquake has devastated it. Along the way, you uncover a magical mystery, you learn a bit of magic yourself, get to know the charming villagers, and even find love if you like. I was lucky enough to be gifted early access to the game and I have sunk quite a few hours into it. So in this video, I'll be telling you everything you need to know to help you decide whether the game is for you and my own review of what I've played so far. Let's start with the story and the setting. The game has an overarching narrative that reveals itself through quests and other progression. Mistria, the town, was wrecked by a bad earthquake and they need someone to help revitalize it, and that's where you come in. You're given a plot of land free of charge in exchange for your help. The quests will have you fixing structures, boosting the morale of the villagers, and more. There's also another storyline of a more magical nature that does reveal itself over time as well. I'm not going to go too much into that to avoid story spoilers, but it is super interesting. In terms of setting, the game takes place in Mistria and it has a very large and expansive map for you to explore. I would definitely say this is a fantasy setting, but it kind of blends in with a little bit more of a modern feel, sort of like an in-between between Stardew Valley and Sunhaven, for example. But it is definitely fantasy. You can see that in the design, you can see that in the costumes of the characters, and the fact that there are dragons and magic and all of those things. When you first start the game, you're met with a really nice character creator. I was really pleased with how cute the clothing options are. There's like cottagecore styles, which I love, and I do feel like between the ones that you start with and the ones that you unlock eventually, there's going to be a lot of different styles of clothing so it can match your own personal aesthetic. I also loved the fact that the pronouns include she, they, he, they, and all pronouns. I feel like you don't see those pronoun options a lot, and as somebody who uses she, they pronouns, that really meant a lot to me. And just a general note about customization, you can also change your outfit at any time via the menu, and you can even set presets for different outfits to change quickly. You unlock more clothing options and hair options throughout the game as well. You can purchase them at special stalls and markets throughout the game, and you can get them as rewards for donating to the museum and increasing your town renown. I feel like these are the types of clothes that people make mods of in Stardew Valley, you know, but they're just part of the game already. Okay, now let's talk about some of the main activities that you'll be doing in the game, starting with farming. Obviously, this is one of the main activities as this is a farm sim. You'll plant crops that are in season, including trees, vegetables, and flowers. One thing that I think is cool is that you can purchase a shovel to increase the size of the land you can plant on. So you can basically customize the size and shape of your field. As you progress, you'll be able to unlock spell abilities, perks, and more to up your farming game. And one thing that I did also like is that your watering can doesn't run out of water. A really nice little quality of life thing, at least at the time I'm making this video. I assume that's a feature, not a bug, but I'm not 100% sure. Ranching and raising animals is another major part of the game, and I really love their system for this. It is so robust. Once you build your coop or your barn, you can go adopt animals, and when you adopt them, you can choose the color, their sex, and you can choose their name. You can also breed the animals together, and in doing that, you can unlock some really cool, unique colors. You can raise your friendship level with your animals by petting them and feeding them, and you can even buy accessories for them. They are so freaking adorable. I just literally cannot get enough of my animals. I love them so much. A few days into the game, you do a quest where you're given a net and you can catch bugs to sell or donate to the museum. We'll talk more about the museum later. The bugs are really nice and easy to catch. You simply go up to them and use your net. There's not any real skill or minigame or challenge involved in that. Another activity that you can do in the game is archaeology. Once you purchase a shovel, you can use it to dig at these little spots on the ground. You'll find them throughout the world, and they also have a dedicated archaeology dig spot that will always have a couple of spots for you to dig up there. When you dig, you'll uncover artifacts, which you can donate to the museum, as well as some materials that you can use for crafting. Fishing in the game works really similarly to how it does in Animal Crossing. In order to catch a fish, you have to cast cast out into the water where you see the shadow of a fish. And if you cast it out close enough, eventually the fish will come up to the bobber. They'll tap it a few times and then they'll bite, and you'll have to hit the button quickly to get the fish. I'm not gonna lie, this is not my favorite fishing minigame in the world. Like I said, it is very, very similar to Animal Crossing, and I honestly don't like fishing in Animal Crossing, but I don't mind it so much. And another thing that you can do, which I think is cool, is you can actually swim in the water. So if you need to cross to one side of the river or another, it's really easy to do that. You can literally just jump into the water and swim to the other side. And they also have little diving spots that you can swim out to, and you'll dive and you'll catch fish and other things like that. There's also foraging. You'll find a variety of different flowers and herbs and other forageables that you can get throughout the year. Unlike a lot of farm sims where you have to upgrade your house in order to get a kitchen, you actually have access to cooking at the very beginning of the game. You can purchase a kitchen from the carpenter shop immediately, well, as soon as you have the funds, and it's not that expensive, but you can also go to the inn and you can cook at the inn from the very beginning of the game, which I think is really cool because I do really like cooking in games like this, and sometimes I hate that I have to wait so long until I can get my first house upgrade. So I really like that you can cook right off the bat. You have a few recipes at the very start, but you'll unlock more recipes over time by a lot of different ways. You'll get them as rewards for quests or achievements. You can purchase them from the market, and sometimes you'll just unlock new recipes when you ship out the ingredients that would go in a recipe. Another big feature of the game is the request board. Now, this is something that you definitely often see in farm sims. However, I do feel like Fields of Mistria does a really good job of making the request board feel worthwhile. I don't know about y'all, but a lot of times when I've played games like Stardew Valley or Coral Island, I mostly just ignore the request because I don't feel like it's really worth my time a lot of the time. However, the request board in this game doesn't just give you money for everything that you complete. Sometimes completing requests is actually what gets you access to certain tools or tool upgrades. You will get money sometimes, but you'll also get recipes and items. And it's really cool because I feel like a lot of times the reward that you get sort of matches the person who sent in the request. For example, if one of the kids in town requests something, they're not going to give you money. They'll give you something like a grilled cheese sandwich or a flower. And so narratively, it makes a lot of sense. And even if the reward is not huge, I often feel like I want to do it just because it feels sort of immersive and it appeals to the role player in me. You'll unlock the mines fairly early on, and you progress through them similarly to how they're done in a lot of farm sims. Hitting rocks will eventually uncover a ladder that you can use to descend to the next level, and every 5 levels you'll reach an elevator that you can use to descend to that level directly in the future. In the mines, you'll find stones, ores, special artifacts, gemstones, forageables, and even unique insects. There's also combat. The magic that is seeped into the mines has caused inanimate objects to come to life, so you'll fight things like lanterns, stones, mushrooms, and more. There are different segments, if you will, to the mine every 20 levels, with each segment having a different theme, difficulty level, and different resources to gather. One thing that I think is really interesting about the mines in this game is that there is actually story progression tied to the mines, so you'll definitely want to make mining a priority in the game. I won't go too much into it again, so I'm not entering spoiler territory, but it is a really interesting story that I like a lot. Fields of Mistria has over 30 villagers to get to know and 10 romanceable options, plus 2 mystery romanceable options. Friendship in the game is earned through talking to villagers, filling their requests from the request board, and giving gifts. One thing that I really love in this game is the Friday at the Inn event. Every Friday, all of the villagers meet at the inn, and you'll be able to participate in these little storylines that evolve there. Like, for example, there's one about a Dungeons and Dragons type game that's being played by some of the villagers. And honestly, I got really invested in this game and even attached to some of the characters that the characters were playing in the game. It's really masterfully done. The romantic characters are all so lovely and they all have very unique personalities, so you're sure to find at least someone that you love. I personally love Balor and Island the best, but honestly, I love them all in different ways. You are able to romance all of the characters no matter what your gender identity is. Because we're somewhat limited with it being early access, I haven't yet seen any of the end game of the romantic relationships, but I'm loving seeing both the friendships and the romances start to blossom with all of these amazing characters. The museum is a really interesting and compelling part of the game. To me, it feels like a blend of like a bundle system, like the community center bundles in Stardew Valley, and a more general museum where you you just donate everything. The way that it works is basically that certain fish, crops, materials, and forageable items can be donated, and they do kind of work in a bundles system. So for example, there are 5 different summer crops that can be donated to the museum. And once you donate those 5 summer crops, that little bundle will be marked as complete. And when you complete one of the bundles, you'll get a reward, which includes different things like cosmetic items, chests that have gold, and food or cooking ingredients, and different things like that. Decorating is one of the things that most blew me away in this game. The decorating in this game is surprisingly robust, with lots of different furniture and decor items that you can craft and purchase. I love that they sell cluttery type items that you can use to decorate with as well. If you're familiar with my decorating at all, you know that I love clutter, and so my heart was so happy to see items like food and little cups and plates that you can decorate with as well. Besides just purchasing them, you can also craft them. You start off the game with a number of crafting recipes at the beginning. You can also purchase packs of crafting recipes from the carpenter, and when you receive furniture as a reward for something like completing a museum bundle, you'll also gain the recipe to craft more of them in the future. The game also has magic. Magic is unlocked through progressing the mines and the storyline as a whole. You start off with just one spell, and you unlock more over time as you continue to progress the story. Your spells require mana, which will get used up when you use a spell, and it will return slowly over the course of several days, so you'll have to choose when to use them wisely. The spells are pretty powerful, with things like completely restoring your stamina and health and making it rain on your farm. So I think it's a really good balance to have them be something that you can really only use every few days, so it doesn't feel broken or too powerful, but it is super nice to have access to them every now and then. One thing that you need to be aware of if you're considering purchasing Fields of Mistria is that this is an early access title. They say that the early access period is planned to be about 1 year, with regular content updates throughout that year. If you go to the early access FAQ, which I have linked in the description, they give you a lot of details about what exactly is and is not yet included at the game. So just to go over some of the highlights, all 4 seasons are included in the game. There are 50 plus crops throughout the year. They have a variety of adorable animals that you can breed. The animal cosmetics are already included in the game. There are 50 museum sets to complete. You can currently get down to level 60 in the mines, with more to come. There's 1 home upgrade with more upgrades to come, and you can customize it with over 200 available items. You can meet and befriend 30 plus characters, including 10 marriage candidates and 2 special marriage candidates. You can currently raise marriage candidate hearts up to 4 hearts, and you can unlock their unique 2 and 4 heart events. You currently can't get them above 4 hearts. Eventually you'll be able to get up to level 10. That's going to come in the future in planned updates. The villagers do have seasonal outfits, which I forgot to mention earlier, but they are so cute. You rebuild and revitalize Mistria through a series of main story quests with future story content planned. You can begin to unravel the mysteries of the town's past and the return of magic power to the land. And there are dozens of handwritten quests available daily at the town's request board, with more on the way. As I said, they will be continuing to update the game regularly throughout early access, and definitely if you want to keep up with what's going on in Fields of Mistria, give me a subscribe, because I'm going to continue covering this game because I love it. Okay, wrapping up with some overall thoughts. I did literally just say that I love the game. This game grabbed me from the beginning and it completely hooked me. The mechanics feel so good and rewarding, and it has a lovely blend of the more nitty-gritty farm optimization and management with whimsy and adventure. The aesthetics are lovely and calming. I find the pastel pinks, the purples, the girly pop aesthetic so pleasing and unique. I really love the character designs as well, and the entire thing evokes this nostalgia that makes me feel like I'm playing a Harvest Moon game in the 90s or early 2000s. I did have a slight negative experience with the game that I want to share, and maybe you can learn from my mistakes. There are 2 ways to save the game. There's a diary, which is like a manual save, and then the game will save automatically every night when you go to sleep. I assumed that the 2 saves were basically doing the same thing, and so I wasn't really saving in my diary very much. Instead, I would just go to sleep, I'd wake up, and I'd turn off the game. Now, what I didn't know is that The save that happens when you go to sleep is more like an autosave, and the game will actually only keep one of those saves. So if you were on the menu and you went into load, the only saves that you would be able to load are the most recent time that you saved from the bed and any of the saves that you did with the diary. When I say it only has room for one sleep save, that includes on different farms. And so I actually lost about 20 days of progress the first time I was playing through the game because I had saved by sleeping, and then I went in and I started a new save to record some footage for this video actually. And when I went back into load, hoping to load into my previous save, all of that progress had been overwritten when I had saved by going to sleep in my second farm, if that makes sense. Because of that, the only save that I could load was the one that I had done like 20 days previously when I had just happened to save in the diary in the middle of the day. I definitely feel like that's a mistake that a lot of people will probably make and not realize that the saves are doing different things. So that's just something to keep in mind. I definitely recommend that you save in your journal every single day in the game and not just rely on sleeping to save. So that was a little bit of a bummer, but it doesn't change the fact that I love this game. I can't wait to continue playing more of this game. I can't wait to see what updates come to this game. If you've been looking for a farm sim to fall in love with, I definitely think this is going to be a good one for you. Thank you so much for watching. I am going to be streaming this game both on this channel as well as my Twitch, wherever you prefer watching live streams. Be sure to check it out if you want to see some gameplay. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye!